We're going to call to order our City Commission special session, May the 18th, for regular roll call.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Hart?
Here.
All right. Regular agenda. Approval of purchase and sale agreement with Chevron property. Turn that over to.
I'm going to do the staff report, just talk about that really quick. First, I want to let the commission know, Craig and Mike and Jamie Douglas have put in a lot of time on this. This is, I think, one of the most important projects for the city. Have a tremendous positive impact for the city, and they should be commended for the job they've done in putting this together, and the structure that protects the city allows this to be constructed and facilitates Jamie moving forward with this with this project. It's two parts tonight. One is the purchase agreement with Chevron, the Chevron property on Ocoee Road, and that is a straight purchase from Chevron, $4.2 million. It's about 96 acres. The structure is the City of Ocoee would enter into the contract with Chevron. The city will not close or purchase the property, but at some point during the contract process, the city would assign its rights as purchaser to Montier, and Montier would close on the purchase. Montier would do all of the due diligence on the property, environmental reports, soil reports, all testing, surveys, whatever due diligence is necessary, that's all on Montier at Montier's expense. The city just facilitates the deal by contracting directly with Chevron and then assigning the contract to Montier. Montier would then close on the property, and Mike will talk about the development agreement. The development agreement addresses the city's property, the Rogers property, and at the time Montier closes on the purchase of the Chevron property, the city would convey the Rogers property to Montier also as part of the project. With respect to the Chevron contract, there are a few obligations that I want to point out. There are some monitoring wells that Chevron has an obligation to take care of to close before closing. The city has an obligation to designate the Chevron property as a brownfield. You may remember a month or 2 months ago we did first reading of an ordinance to do that. When we get closer to closing, we'll do the second reading of that ordinance to adopt the brownfield. The brownfield provides some protections for the city from an environmental concern. It provides some protections to Montier and Chevron also. As you may know, Chevron is a big company, very, very concerned about environmental issues. There are some environmental issues on the property. Montier is aware of those issues, and Chevron has provided a Dropbox full of documentation relating to the contamination on the site. Chevron would not do this deal without a full release and indemnification of liability with respect to environmental, which Montier has agreed to assume. There is some kind of trailing liability on the city, but we've addressed that by requiring environmental indemnification insurance, which Montier will purchase at Montier's expense, but it'll name the city as an insured under that policy. So we've done the best we can to kind of protect the city's interests and to facilitate this transaction. So the first item is the approval of the purchase agreement. The second item is approval of the development agreement. The development agreement is the agreement between the city and Montier. Details the city's conveyance of the Rogers property to Montier, and then how the city will get paid. I think it'd be appropriate now for Mike to do kind of the report on the development agreement, and then maybe Mr. Douglas, if you want to do a little presentation after Mike on the project, then we can address each of these items, answer any questions, and approve them individually.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Mike Roomer, Development Services Director. The second part of this, as the City Attorney Cookson said, is a development agreement with Montier Development. And you might be thinking, well, we're not looking at your large-scale site plan, Mike. Why do we have a development agreement in front of us? And this is similar like we did with City Center West Orange. We have to look at this project on the 30,000-foot level and try to keep this project going because of the neat aspect of what this project is by being the travel baseball and ball mecca, a regional mecca that it can become. And the end users that Montier are looking at have got to have some sort of vision of when that year they could start those type of tournaments. And so what this development agreement does is first it gives Montier the assurance that he's going to be able to acquire enough land from what the city can control with getting Chevron under contract and with the property, the 37 acres that the city owns that we commonly refer to as the Rogers property because we purchased it from the Rogers family. They still own some other lands which are in play that'll also be called Rogers property, but the 37 acres the city owns, he's got to know that this land is in the fold for him to make the full reality of this complex. So we do that with this development agreement. The development agreement also provides a secondary backup document for what's in the contract, things that he is going to be obligated to do in order to get the Chevron under contract. So real quickly, I'll hit on some points. I'm sure Jamie will as well. In the development agreement, what this does is provides the opportunity for the city to say, we will provide our best effort under this development to process and be a part of the large-scale land use amendment that's going to have to go to the state, the large-scale site plans, and all those building permits. We're going to put our best effort to help keep that moving along. He will then agree in this development agreement to develop it based off that first whereas with the 16 ball fields, the hotels, the parking garages, the multi-purpose fields, the city parks that he's going to provide as an amenity. He will also provide the city in this development agreement updated ball fields on a location on another city-owned property. He'll provide 2 new ball fields as well. And he is stating that in this development agreement, the city will also be able to benefit by using this complex in the non-rush hour hours and weekends. We can use this complex as well. There's a lot of items dealing with what the city attorney said in the contract for sale. We just put it in this development agreement. I do want to draw your attention to Section 7 of the development agreement under compensation. This is the crux of what the city is going to get as a benefit to not only just the people coming and the activity, the popularity, but it's how we're going to be paid back for the Rogers land, the city 37 acres, and we're also going to receive funding for 30 plus years. That is going to be via a 30-year deal to have like a tariff added to the hotels on this project site. The city would get $20 per room, and we would also receive 25% up to $5 a day for the vehicle parking in the parking garages. And there's a commitment that the developer will pay the city back $8 million for the 37 acres over 10 years. That is going to be facilitated further into this commission's better understanding in a document that's called the payment obligation document. That is going to come with the next step we bring to you. You're going to see this project a lot, several times. We're going to not only bring this payment obligation document, which will spell out who, what, when, where, and why. When will the land, if he fails to produce, when and how will we get the Rogers land back, that 37 acres? How is that initiated? We will also talk about the payment, when the payment's made, how it's made, if it's not made, who calls who's responsible for what. That's going to come in a document you will be able to review and help shape. There will also be a second document, which is an impact fee agreement. We've said here, hey, we know this project's going to have utility mitigation issues. It's going to have a lot of road and transportation issues. The main road, Ocoee will have to be widened. The work on Ocoee will not only be to the benefit of this project, but it will be a regional benefit on the west side of Ocoee. So we said we're willing to commit impact fee credits to help with that construction, but no more than what your project will generate for those retail uses, hotel and restaurant. When they are issued a permit, they have to pay the road impact fees. We will credit that to them, so you won't have to pay the impact fee and build the road. So we've committed to just no more than what you're going to generate. We'll put that in there. But that document, how that is facilitated, and any other thing we come across with our large-scale amendment will be in this document. So we have two other documents to discuss how we're going to facilitate this even further. We have committed that once the project is fully functional, we will provide 5 years tax abatement. After that time, the project will pay all its just for City of Ocoee taxes. And the last part is, as I said, he will be improving or constructing 2 ball fields in the city property, and then we also get limited use of the facility for those non-popular hours. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Okay, commissioners. Anybody have any
Mayor, just
questions?
one thing, if I can just say one thing. The 37 acres the city owns, which we refer to as the Rogers property, it is designated as parkland. Now, it can be parkland that's free for the enjoyment of people, or it can be parkland that's a commercial recreation. What he's proposing is mostly commercial recreation, and there may be some element of free recreation on there. If this property, or when this property is tied up, and if after 4 years can't meet the obligations and we get the property back, we have not lost anything. Presently, in our 5-year capital improvement program, we do not have a funded park for the Rogers property. So by this development company having it locked up for 3-4 years and we get it back, no harm, no foul, we would just then start planning for a park. We do not ever intend to sell this for multifamily, light industrial, commercial. So I just wanted to, if you had any questions about that, calm that down and talk about, so it's locking it up is not harming the city in any way. Thank you.
All right, commissioners, we'll start with
It'll generate.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes, sir. I'm still new to this, so a question about the contamination. Is it petroleum based or was it from cattle? My dad had a gas station in Lake County, which is in my name now, so when you say petroleum, I know all about that because I'm still dealing with cleaning that up, and that was from the 1970s. So could you tell me the source of it if you know?
I would defer to the city attorney.
It's not anything that Chevron did. It was contamination. I think it's mainly arsenic from prior use as agricultural use. It's not an oil spill. Chevron has never used the property for a refinery or anything like that. So it's not that kind of contamination. It's your typical agricultural contamination.
Yeah, they use it a lot of times to take ticks off the cattle.
Cattle dipping bats and stuff like that.
That's good to know. And one other thing, as far as the roads, will the county be picking up part of this? Because the county's going to benefit from this too. So I'm wondering will they also pay into it?
Excellent question, Commissioner. I see Craig leaning in. I'll let him start.
Well, my comment on that would be, we hope that's the case, pursuant to the direction the commission gave us Tuesday night. That will be part of the greater discussion regarding Ocoee Road. And the agreement does commit us to making every effort to help obtain additional funding for the transportation road system, and we'll be overturning every stone in that effort, including the county and the state.
And then just let me add on to that, Commissioner. The properties all have a low-density residential land use. and for-profit recreation is not permitted. So he has to do a large-scale land use and map amendment, changing the 100 acres from up to 4 homes to commercial.
Right.
And with that, we have to send that to the state and all the surrounding agencies. So Winter Garden, Apopka, Orange County, the Expressway Authority, DOT, they will all get a look at it and provide a comment, a recommendation, or a condition. And so some things, other things may come up. That's why these next agreements are really going to be telling on what we're looking at with this project. But we do hope that everyone will see this as a benefit to West Orange County. We had a great Tri-City partnership. Everyone will benefit, and they will be not be a stumbling block, but help us.
Thank you very much, and I wish you'd have been here 35 years ago. Maybe you could have helped me hit a curveball, because I never could. But thank you.
Real quick on that, the old days with Chevron was the testing facility for pesticides.
Okay.
For fruit trees, flowers, and different things. That's what they did out there. They tested their pesticides that they sold.
Okay.
So that's what that was used for.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Fershner.
No, I don't really have any comments. Jamie's been wonderful, very helpful with our meetings and everything, explaining everything in detail. I think I understand the principles of the agreement. I don't have any further questions.
Commissioner Wilson.
I don't have any questions. I know we met with Jamie this week. I met with Jamie this week, as many as I'm sure did. And Mike reviewed information, questions I had today, so I think I understand what we're doing. I believe I understand what we're encountering.
Commissioner Kennedy.
I just have one comment. I see that you've mutually addressed the question that I raised, and it's clear, and thank you for that. I thoroughly reviewed everything. I have no other questions. I think it's terrific. Supported 100%.
I'd be remiss if I didn't add, the tax base this will generate for the city, even though we're going to be abating the Ocoee taxes for 5 years, the overall tax base will be tremendous for this project, and be remiss if I didn't mention that. Jamie, obviously, he does have a PowerPoint. He's ready to provide a presentation if you so need it. He would just be touching more passionately on some of the things I spoke about. So Mayor, turn it over to you if you would like him to.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you about is a time limit on this project, so.
Yes, okay, yes.
Hey, I've been watching it long. I've been sitting and listening the whole time for the last, I don't know, how long we been doing this?
We first met 18 months ago.
Yeah, so I've been going along with everything. And I have no problem with it. I just want to see if we have any kind of.
Yes, people don't get to see how we make the meatloaf. They don't understand how long before. So what this does, this step, not only allows him to finalize the purchasing of some peripheral properties besides the cities, besides Chevron, that he needs to make quickly. But this allows him now to go and get his funding and people to know that there's a project, so he can start doing his due diligence, and we can provide you a timeline with these other 2 documents I talked about. And Mayor, we're not going to have our goal is not to have a Clark Road. We're going to have a very defined timeline that we can all agree and point to constantly, and hopefully we keep it on track. So.
Well, you better start early on St. John.
Yes.
I
Well, we have done some things just for we have started, some transportation. We've plugged the project into the regional model. We're looking at that, so we're ready to go tomorrow. He can cut them loose, and we can start working on the transportation. We've done a little bit of work on the utilities. Those are the things we control that we can help get a head start. So we've already started that. We're on our way to be able to kick that off quickly. His is going to be his due diligence work on the Chevron property and Rogers property, soils and all those environmental things. And I'll let Craig step in because he's.
Mike, I'd like Mike to take 10 seconds to explain the large-scale land use amendment process that Jamie is going to be in. Is very onerous in its state requirements, and he's required to do a full study demonstrating how he's going to meet the demand generated by this land use change. Mike, can you kind of give them a very brief overview?
A large-scale land use amendment is required for 50 acres or more. It used to be 10 acres. The legislature changed that. So what this does is you have to bring a project, and you have to show that changing the land use from 4 houses an acre, what those level of service impacts are, schools, water, sewer, garbage, police, fire, transportation, environmental. How are you going to mitigate that? Because you're bringing a higher use. Now, if we just went forward with only changing those 150 acres from low density to commercial, they can point to our code and our comprehensive plan and say, you can build more commercial out there than Disney World. And that's what the test would be at. So what we have to do to ratchet back those requirements is we've got to do a plan unit development which locks in exactly what is in that first whereas. 16 ball fields, 3 hotels, 2 parking garages, several 100,000 square feet of retail in a development agreement so we can say this is it, it's not going to be any more. The problem is to get to that point takes a lot of work, because if he was just changing back in the day when it was 10 acres from commercial, from low density to commercial, go as high as you can, that's fine, we can deal with the level of service. But the level of service with that, we not only he's got to hire a firm, consultants, to tell us what it means, he's got to test it and say, oh, here we go, okay, there's no school impact, we're actually taking students away because it's residential now, it's going to commercial, and it's not a mixed use where we're going to have apartments. But we got to look at the water and sewer capacity. We got to look at the roads. The roads just happen to impact Orange County, City of Winter Garden, Apopka, the Expressway Authority, and DOT. So we have to tell them what this development's going to provide, what it's going to do, what the deficiencies are, how we're going to mitigate that. You got to do a lot of that work ahead of time to get this PUD so we can ratchet down the test so it's not for 100 million square feet of commercial, it's this. And so that's what takes the time. So his consultants, they have 90 days to do their due diligence, and they're going to be working on this package. They have several months to put together the package. We have to meet and digest it and be able to come to you and say, we can handle the level of service for garbage, police, fire, transportation, or we have an issue, this is how we're going to mitigate it. Then we send it off, and 45 days later, we get either objections, recommendations, or conditions. It's an ORC report. If adjacent city has an issue, we can't adopt it. We have to work on it, try to fix the issue, and send it back for review. That's just to get the land use to commercial to be able to do the PUD. Then it's the full engineering on the site. Now, he'll be working on that continuously, but then you have the full large-scale engineering plan that we have to bring to you and show you how they're going to get their St. John's permit, the physical attributes of the roads, and et cetera.
All right. There was one other thing. Are you in this? I just want to ask this where somebody, maybe we can tell everybody they'll understand it. What's the process of what part goes, you going to do in sections or partials, or are you going to build it all at one time?
So as the studies move forward, we're going to kind of establish that traffic's going to be an indication on how we go about, because we don't want to overload anything up front. We want to make sure everything's prepared and make sure we're able to move the amount of traffic that we have opened up on the facility. So with the traffic studies, and over the next couple of months, we'll be able to determine that.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
Mayor, for the city attorney, because we've had several conversations with Chevron, and they were very sensitive about press releases and things like that. Do you have anything you want to advise the commission of as far as how we proceed if they do prove these two agreements?
Yeah, we did agree with Chevron that we would work together on any public comments or statements. So if you're contacted with respect to this project, before giving a comment, I think it's probably wise to speak with Craig or Rob, and we can get Chevron involved. And so it's kind of a joint statement that we're giving. They were very sensitive about that. They want to help. And look, Chevron is very, very supportive of this project. I think they recognize that this is the perfect use for their property. They've tried to sell it before and have been unsuccessful in selling it. So I think they're going to be champions for this project. They just want to be part of the narrative if there are any press releases or comments made relating to the project.
Okay, so.
And I wanted to add also, Mayor, your question about.
Is your speaker on?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I wanted to add that everything that Mike and Craig is mentioning, we had in our plans the entire time. So there's nothing been added that this was a part of the time frame all along. So.
Anybody?
You're good?
I think the picture taken in all is the same as what we got in this folder, right? It's what
Yes.
you were going to show.
Yes.
Does anybody want it on the screen?
I'll put it on the screen. Thank you for that, Mayor. I didn't.
So here's
So-
just a couple renderings of what the facility is going to, be, things are going to change a little bit as far as the roadways and on-site, more efficient roadways, but this will give you a brief.
This is from Fuller's Cross in Ocoee, Apopka.
Right.
And again, we did put a caveat on these plans and stuff that we haven't fully reviewed them, so we're gonna dress up some of that parking garage and how that looks from the streets, but that's heading south on Ocoee, Apopka and looking east on Fuller's Cross Road. Then you have it from the south, with Lakewood would be to the right, Ocoee, Apopka is that road on the left as you go down. So it's along Ocoee, Apopka, you're going to have the mixed uses of retail, restaurant, hotel, parking garage, offices, welcome center, with a very nice pronounced promenade. And then on the east side of that, you would have the fields, the multi-purpose fields that will be a part of this project, and the inclusive park, and those things.
All right. Anybody got any questions they want to ask? Anybody?
Nope.
No? All right, Craig, what do you suggest, or?
Yeah, let's approve them separately. I think first would be approval of the purchase agreement, and then secondly would be approval on the development agreement.
All right, first item would be the approval of purchase and sale agreement with Chevron property. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Scott Kennedy. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Hart. No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, number 2, approval of the development agreement with Montier Development, PLLC, for the Ocoee Regional Sports Complex. Any more comments? Not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the development agreement.
Motion made by Commissioner Kennedy for the development agreement.
I'll second it again.
Seconded again by Commissioner Hart. No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Just a couple of things before we go any further. No, I don't think anybody up here was here back years ago when Tom Eisen was mayor. And I always have to mention this because Tom Eisen was a guy with a lot of foresight. He's one that helped us get the 429 moved over on the other side of town, or instead of ever going to yank it over here on this part where the mall was at. But one of the things I wanted to mention, he was always interested in sports and Little League, and he coached, matter of fact, he coached Mark in flag football when we first started. But his intentions was to bring baseball out here. Doesn't matter what it was with youth baseball, but he wanted to put it all on the west side of Ocoee out there, and that's what he was always after. He was staunch about that. I don't know. Did you ever meet?
I didn't know him, I just knew of him.
He was a super smart young man. Not young, but he was young. He died with a heart. He was a runner and died with a heart attack one morning after running. But he always was pushing to have us do something like that in this town. And I think this is going to be a benefit, not just for us. It's going to be a benefit for Winter Garden, benefit for Apopka, benefit for Windermere, and anywhere in Orlando, but also all over the country. Absolutely. So I think the process, and I don't have what got you to do that except being in baseball, but I appreciate it. I thank you. I think it's something that'll set us off, really set us aside from other places around here, and I think it's people is going to really find out that it's a wonderful situation to be in, and we're going to have. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope I can be around that long to see it. So, it's like I said, it's like baseball's changed a lot in the last few years I've been around, because now it's all travel baseball, and there's still a little bit of Little League going on, or Babe Ruth League, but it's mainly travel ball. And we've had people ask, like about softball fields, and you got that in here about they can convert to softball fields.
Correct.
So that's all in the thing, and so I just wanted to tell you that. Thank you. And
I appreciate
I know
it.
he's probably looking down and smiling at us because he was really into that, doing that. But back in those days, you couldn't get anybody to do anything like that. But
We feel very privileged and blessed with this opportunity. We want to thank you as well.
yeah.
And Mayor, this is a part of the economic gardening that you and Craig were a part of with getting TNXL here.
Yeah.
You can see your guys' commitment to these kids making memories in Ocoee with the soccer we have up at the beach center. We have a community pool, and with this baseball, we're getting the market of helping these kids really shape their lives in the city of Ocoee.
Well, one of the things, and I know we're through with the major stuff, but Ocoee is a place for youth activities. It's always been that way, and this is going to really make it more. And I know Mark's my son, but I want to thank him and his staff. And Mark, we worked a lot with Mark Martinez and
TNXL
and everybody about this
Yes.
program. So he's been in the baseball stuff and understands it. And he was trying to explain to me some of the things we were talking about to start with. So I appreciate the recreation departments and all our staff, especially the planning department, and especially Craig Shadrick for their expertise and time put into this. So, and what you were saying about the communications, we need to have a point man that nobody says anything or does anything when you use unless that point man is maybe Craig.
Yeah. Until we get Chevron closed and
Yeah.
all
Get
that stuff.
Chevron closed.
Yes, to them, that goes, everything goes through, agreeable through Craig. And, all right? Okay, is that it? Well, congratulations, everybody. That's a big project, big thing. Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you.